Welcome, everyone, to this podcast series that I'm launching together with my good friend Marlou.
Hey, welcome.
Yes,
Good to be here.
good to be here. Yeah, and the reason we decided now today is let me see, it's the 19th of January 2024, start of 2024. That we decided to start this podcast series is because we're both in a space where we don't know what to do with our life, basically. And it or at least I shouldn't speak for Marlou, but I don't know what to do with my life. So basically the idea was to start a podcast show, which is not new. There's many podcasts out there, but really from a place of the goal of this podcast is really to create a space for ourselves, me and Marlou first and foremost, to
Yeah, that's right.
give give to you, to the others listening to this, to you listening to this, insights and perspectives into our experiences of life, without any other goal in mind. And that is the first thing that I want to begin sharing with you, is that it liberates the idea that there needs to be a goal. It gives us, at least if I speak for myself, it gives me a sense of freedom, of obligation, expectation, responsibility to make something happen, do something, persuade someone, but just have the space that I need in order to bring all the wisdom and knowledge that Marlou has generated over her life, that I have generated over my life, out there into the bigger environment, if you will, the bigger space of all of you as the audience, as our audience, that will be listening or potentially listening to this. So that's the idea here.
hmm
To add to that, Marlou?
Yeah, I was thinking about wanted to see this as a casual conversation, like we often have, you and me, Lionel and I. And in these casual conversations, there's a lot of wisdom often shared, and a lot of that wisdom is gone after the conversation. So we're here to, yeah, get some golden nuggets in between the conversations for you to, yeah, get some insights for your own path. And for us, it's mostly around uh, awakening to the deeper aspects of life in whatever life goes on, and you have a lot of stuff to do. But if you're on this consciousness path and trying to figure out or want to know deeper what's going on in your life and find more explanation around what is happening and why, and what is your power to do something about it. And we are going to pick different topics in different episodes, and we're just going to casual conversate about it. And yeah, I look forward to see what we can dig up.
Beautifully said, beautifully spoken, Marlou. I really like that. It feels really good in my system. And um, what did I want to share? This is already how casual conversations go. By the
Yeah.
way, so as this is a casual conversation, this podcast series, we didn't plan anything. So because obviously, and this is maybe a little nugget that Marlou just spoke about, which helps me a lot, is I'm a very deeply in the moment, a connected person. And Marlou will know this from the time we've spent together, is that I'm very connected to the present moment. And so the more I start planning or thinking about something, the more my mind quickly gets in the way of whatever it is that I actually want to say. So
Yeah.
to not plan it in a way, and these things are always paradoxical, gives more stress, but it also gives more freedom and relaxation at the same time. And I
Mm-hmm.
often find that my life consists of a lot of paradoxes where things are seemingly one way, the way that people see them, but then actually within that way, there's actually a very opposite, or a very paradoxical opposite that actually is um, is taking place. I don't have any other example right now, but
Yeah.
it'll unfold as we have these conversations. But that's one thing that comes up to share. The other thing, just in a practical sense, is that we're not making these podcasts too long for now. So we're aiming to make this one maybe 30 to 35 minutes so that you have an idea of how long these conversations will be. Um,
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's an important point that you mentioned there, around you are very aware of what is happening in the moment. And working with you and being a friend and all of those kind of things, knowing you for a few years now, I know, whenever I share, uh, you know, I can share with Lionel the deeper stuff. Um, and um, it's always about what is happening in a moment, what is now present. And there's always some knowledge there that you can help bridge the gap between a place where you feel disempowered to feeling more self-empowered here. So I guess this is a big piece we're going to yeah, pull forward in a lot of episodes.
mhm,
That
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if we are talking about this theme of being very connected to the moment, to the present moment, it, it's how I would say what may help you in the audience connect to this is that when I used to, the short version right now is that I never used to be spiritual in the sense that I wasn't very awake or aware of who I was on a path or a journey of some sorts, with a spirit in a body that's connected to the present moment, that's really living an experience, a human experience here on earth. I wasn't really aware of any of that. And about 15 years ago, when I was about 25, around 2008, I had an illness, was a big awakening factor for me. It was the
Mhm.
biggest teacher, let's say, because it was an illness that wasn't medical, it wasn't really diagnosable. So it was something vague and very limiting and handicapping to what before that time was very normal for me on the level of food, diet, ability, energy levels, body, like cognitive abilities and stuff. I was very connected to the mind and to the ego, still am in a way. That, but what am I trying to say here? Is that when you are realizing that you're very connected to the present moment, then you almost have to become more spiritual, because you go within, you start connecting to your body, as I did. You start connecting to a bigger meaning for why things like the illness I just described for me happen. And then
Yeah.
you interface between daily life and the earthly reality and something more ethereal, that you cannot name, that's intangible, that isn't physical, isn't touchable
Yeah.
or graspable, that you have to follow in order to move yourself through this journey into something that you want to be better than what it was. This was my path. And this is also why I've always been in between the worlds of, on the one hand, spirituality, and on the other hand, just the Western European, the earthly, logical, brain, intellect powered mindset. And that was a very
Yeah.
difficult journey to bridge that gap. And I feel like on a collective, on a bigger level, I've done a lot of healing work in that gap for humanity
Mm.
to come together more. And which is why I think on the bigger level, spirituality and meditation and all these practices have become slowly in the world more accepted, because that gap is closed, and I've contributed to that closure in some ways. And you have as well, Marlou. Maybe you want to share some
Yeah.
things that come up as I say that, but this is what came up to share for me.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. For me, it has also been this path of awakening, all started with health issues and struggles, and um, but still just living life and having a job and being in a business, and but my interest was always very in that spiritual realm, to want to know the deeper things of life, what it's all about, how my illness related to um, uh, the mental stuff, and the body mind relation, all those pieces, and we're bridging a gap here because I noticed that there's more and more acceptance of these areas we're talking about, in the um, in the general world, where people just live their life and work, and haven't touched or haven't needed to go there. A lot of people haven't they didn't need to research in such a way as we have. And the time is now, I guess, to um, yeah, people awakening more and more and opening up to more truths. And yeah, this is a very interesting time to
Yeah,
to start beginning these conversations around all those topics.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This brings me to beautiful what you said. Beautiful. I really like it, and it brings up more, which is again also a reason why I like this podcast already, because I often find that, again, these paradoxes. On the one hand, I need to initiate things on my own, but on the other hand, I need others to reflect or be a mirror back to me, so that I can more easily respond, which is something that I'm very good at, responding. It's often also reacting, which is more of a negative version of responding. It's my system reacting to things, but I'm also, the gift of that ability is also to be able to respond to things. So your input helps me bring back, and the back and forth is the energy exchange that is so helpful for me, and it brings the energy into harmony and balance on the call, which you as the audience should, if you tune into the things that are happening between the actual words. The words are important, but between the words, you'll begin to pick up that resonance that we're building. And this is really what
Yeah,
we're doing, is we're building a little mini container of a resonance field, a heart-based resonance field that Marlou and me have already established based on a long journey, to many years of journeying together.
yeah,
But then expanding this to you as the viewer really helps bring you into that higher frequency bubble, that higher resonating bubble of consciousness, let's say, of
yeah,
wisdom, of experience, of knowledge that comes through. And it's not,
Yeah.
and even as I say that, there's so many things I could share, but it's not that we are superior to others or something like that. And this is another spiritual, if you want to call it that, principle. But it's not that we're better, but there are most definitely, there's so much confusion out there. Even in the non-spiritual world, people don't know who they are, but even in the spiritual world, people think they have all these answers, and it goes all over the place. And it's not like we have more answers, but there is an order. I would say there is an order, a frequency level, stepping stone, like a ladder or a stairway, where you, just like music, you go up certain octaves and notes to higher and
Yeah.
higher sounds. The higher notes aren't better than the lower notes. If you want music, you need a range of notes. But the point is
Exactly.
that the higher you go, the more harmonic, the more choir-like, the more divine the music becomes. And this is what we're practicing in essence, if you were to summarize it that way. And I think that humanity is looking for that staircase that you were just mentioning, Marlou. Humanity is looking for a way to begin to find even that staircase so that they can take those steps and reach a higher level of inner harmony, which right now we're in a very collectively, what I will say is we're in a very disharmonious, disharmonic state where there's chaos and carnage and fear and all of the things that we know are happening in the world. And it's taking people further away from themselves rather than closer towards and into themselves, so they can begin to access some of this higher level knowledge that's actually already here. It's coming through us now, but it's all around us, but we just need the access to it, which is again that staircase, right? So that's something
Yeah,
that came
exactly.
for me to share,
Yeah.
by extension of what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the resonance of the planet and the people are yeah, there's this base of you know, we call it this Christ consciousness. And whatever you want to call it, you can even label it differently. It doesn't even matter. It's not about the word. But it's about this level of heart opening that is happening, that is supporting us here now, to get to this higher knowledge and a higher place from where we are living from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really key here,
Mm-hmm.
what you bring in with the resonance ladder also. And this space of frequencies in the background, and you can even feel it if you're sensitive. You can tune into and you can get new awarenesses from it, or you can often it happens afterwards that you open up and you feel, or you realize suddenly uh, something new, or what you haven't thought of before, and it just comes in, you know. And I have that often when we have these kind of conversations, then stuff is shifting in the field, and it's all about the yeah, we both bring in these higher frequencies, and that's very interesting. And sometimes it's activating also the things you need to look at that you don't like, and those pieces are here also and welcome, because um, they're not here to like tease you, but they're here to transform. And I guess this space and these podcasts are a really good space to get a little support in that. And yeah, that feels really good to be here for you, to hold the space yeah, in these casual podcasts, and we're just talking, and things are shifting. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. What can I share about this, what we're saying now? Because there's a lot of things came up. And that's interesting, right? Because in the space that's being created in this moment of now, a lot of wisdom wants to come through because it allows itself. It's almost like the wisdom comes when you create the space by taking a step to
Yeah.
allow that to come through because it's needed. And that last part, because it's needed, is important, because I feel like what I said earlier, there is a cry out in the world today that I've been feeling for a long time, and that most people, even let's say non-spiritual people, will be very aware of a certain form of help or remembrance or reconnection that's needed by most of, or a large part of, humanity that don't know how to find that ladder, like we said earlier. They don't know how to begin even the journey. They don't even know there is a journey to begin with. And
Mm-hmm.
that is painful. Just feeling that is painful. It's painful for me because I actually feel, again, paradoxical, that I have been so aware of myself. I've always been so hyper aware of myself that I have actually the opposite. I've been on the journey for a long time, and I felt like I haven't made enough progress, even though I was committed to a full 100% of my time to this journey of inner awakening. And I don't even like the word awakening, but inner opening, like you said, Marlou, opening of the heart, although I don't even consider myself so successful in that area at the moment either. But it's more like
Expand our awareness.
expanding,
Yeah.
evolving,
Yeah.
growing into a higher level of awareness of who I am on this planet and who we are together on this planet. And and even the fact that I was on that journey felt like it was going so slowly, so cripplingly slowly. In at least when I looked at the physical level of
Yeah.
healing from illness, healing from fatigue, healing from financial disrepair and survival stress, healing and changing my environments and becoming more independent. And all of those things went cripplingly slow. And those were the measuring sticks for me. And we'll talk more about that, not to go into the detail of that in the first conversation. But I think it's beautiful for us to be able to, at this point, say we have a lot to share, and our perspectives. So it's nice. It's nice to be able to feed that back to you, whoever you will be in the audience, so that
Yeah.
you get our beacon, our signal is out, and that's actually the expression of who we really are. And it's such a beautiful time to do that with all the technology and the possibilities, to
Yeah.
do that so effortlessly. We can really come back to gratitude. At least I always come back to gratitude whenever I can feel it, which is
Yeah.
another issue, because if you can't feel it, it's difficult. But I try and always practice coming back to gratitude for the things that I have and for where I am. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share here.
Yeah. It feels like, for me, it feels like this um, celebration of the start of a new journey where we take people through these pieces of expanding awareness, and like this guidance in becoming that heart-centered being, and living that and really feeling it, and inside not outside of the, because of the evidence of the things you have built and the house and the stuff, but really that inside job. And yeah, that feels very that's the best empowerment you can get, from
Yeah.
my sense. Yeah.
That's very important what you're saying now, because it brings me to the point that may be good to bring up here for now, is one of the major reasons for this podcast as well is that this may trigger people, or they may you may disagree, or but what I'm trying to say is, I believe, and I've always fought, again, big paradox, but I believe that the way that life unfolds for us, if you're especially conscious and aware of the journey you're on, that is actually the level of awakening, if you want to call it that, or enlightenment, or consciousness, or evolution that you're making, is how aware you are of the journey you're making. It's not that people that are not spiritual don't make a journey. They still make a journey, but if they're not aware of who they really are on that journey, they've missed the higher perspective of the same experiences, meaning they've missed a level of awakening around who they are as human beings
Yeah.
living their journey. That's the
Yeah.
piece, that's the key. How aware and awake are you about who you are as you're living your journey? And that is the most important thing, which is what Marlou was just referring to, is that it is about your beingness. It's about who you are. And it's about, by extension, it's about the patterns that you carry. And we'll talk about that more, but the things that the sequences, the behaviors, the act, the mind-based illusions and the thoughts that sabotage you, that keep you from experiencing yourself as a free spirit in a human body, free from the restrictions and the baggage of your past and your even your family's past, the DNA, the bloodlines, the lineage, all of that. That's the experience of awakening in its purest form. And that's what life is about. And everything external to that Marlou was referring to, that you're looking out there in the material reality and the money and the things that you're doing in your job and out there and the goals that you have and everything else, is actually very, I'm going to use the word very, secondary, because there's a big distance between those two, in the sense that it really comes in second place. And many people that are not aware and awake, I find, put the external world on as if that's the goal, and
Yeah.
it's the reflection of the inner goals. So it always has to come first from the inner state, and that's where most of the work. Let's say, if roughly speaking, where I am now, where I would, after thinking about this question for so long, because it's bothered me so much not having the external experiences in order and the external foundation of my life in order, I've often focused on, well, spirituality needs to get me those external things. And it's true, it's not like that's not important, but it's an extension of what you're doing by putting the inner beingness first. And that's where most people, I find, even people that say that they've put that first, even spiritual people that are doing that beingness first, I find that there are always much deeper levels there.
Yeah.
Of going within, and it depends on what kind of person you are and what your history is and what your desires are, but there's so much more in that inner experience that can be opened up and awakened to and brought into a higher, more beautiful, um,
Brought to light. Yeah.
brought to light more. I don't even have the words,
Mhm.
so that the external things that you do don't matter as much and get experienced in a much more pure and clean and undistorted manner. The filters through which you experience life start to dissolve more, and you start to feel you can start to grasp the abundance in almost everything. And that becomes more like Buddhistic, almost like the Buddha, right? It's that unconditional love consciousness comes closer to you then in your experience of life. I guess
Yeah.
if there was one aim for me, and I definitely am not there yet, um, if ever I will be, it would be to experience more and more that, because it nourishes, it recharges, it brings to life, it is abundance, it's the purity of our being in the real sense that we all share together. And that's a good intention, I think, to bring forward in this podcast as we discuss these things together.
Yeah. And that's the piece that is often like convoluted in spirituality is um, that you have to be happy or something, and then the things around you doesn't really matter,
Mm-hmm.
or you need to, you're bypassing some of those feelings, but we are going much deeper here. And then, um, well, then you're really going to experience how much of um, the things inside that you feel inside, uh, the struggles you have, you need to go through to get to that more inner radiant place. And then, um, and when you're going through that and awakening through all those pieces, um, you're getting you're getting a different relationship with yourself, much more empowered, much more joyful, and you're gonna feel the abundance, um, as at least as I speak for myself, I'm feeling more and more the abundance in myself. So the things I have around me, it's easier to create abundance, and it's easier to experience abundance. And um, those worlds do not need to be separate, you know. That feels yeah, that is my wish also for the audience to experience that, for anyone who listens to get to tap into those pieces, that bring you more deeper into yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you can tell, our casual conversations actually are quite raw and go quite deep. So they're not very casual, actually, in the sense that I can imagine for the audience here, for you listening, that this is an overwhelming amount of information, especially if you're new to any kind of spiritual journey. This goes very deep, and it's because uh, we've gone so deep, and my life is about a lot of depth. I actually find that many people that seek depth actually um, get very over can get in the past. I mean, when I also that was also my issues when I don't speak from a very embodied place, meaning very connected to myself and my own experience.
Mm,
The wisdom can overflow and create an overwhelm of energy. But at the same time, when you connect to your body and you share, people can also get overwhelmed because they feel it in their system too, and they're not used to such an expansive feeling of awareness. So this can be
yeah.
quite intense. So that's why these conversations are kept to half hour, and we're really nearing that time already, or we're passing that time. So this is a good point for us to begin to round off this first beautiful, what I think I can describe as a beautiful first conversation casual conversation that you've done together with me, Marlou, and I'm very grateful for your support, because over the years, you have really constantly been a source of support for me through the feminine love and unconditional support and wisdom to keep me on the right track when I was going off the rails with my pain and my suffering and my misery and my problems, because that has been a big part. You don't grow through only love and bliss and happiness. You grow through all the issues that you struggle with. And I could speak every podcast about that, and I'd still endlessly have so much to share. So I'm not going to do that here. But thank you for the conversation and the podcast, Marlou, and for the audience as well to listen to this. And hope you find it inspiring and interesting, and it brings you some valuable nuggets of wisdom, like Marlou said.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't have anything to add to that, and I totally agree. And yeah,
We'll do it again sometime.
yeah, I want to invite the audience to even re-listen, because I feel a lot is coming through in the background in case of these frequencies, and we're going to talk about that. That's a good topic.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you re-listen, that really maybe you don't get it on a mental level, but you're digesting it on a deeper level. And yeah, I can recommend it to re-listen. Okay.
yeah. Good tips. All right, guys. Until next
Thank you.
time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.